Good afternoon, family. Welcome to the Afro Latina Show. I am your host, Alicia Anabel Santos, La Diosa Dominicana, La Santera. Welcome to episode 94, When You Can't Write, Create Anyway. So, as some of you know, I had a really bad fall this week and injured my arm really badly, my writing hand, my right arm. And so I've been in bed for the past few days because the pain medication is really a lot. But I'm in good spirits, and I realized today, that I hadn't recorded my show because I haven't been feeling well, but I can't write. That doesn't mean that I'm not a creator. And so I decided that today we would read The Alchemist together. So if you have it, join in. I am going to start reading from the prologue. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, by the way. I'm reading my 25th anniversary edition. I have a collection of The Alchemist. I pick it up whenever I visit a different country. I have it in several languages. It's definitely a gift if you want to give me. If you're traveling around the world, I do have a collection of The Alchemist, so send them my way. Prologue, translated by Clifford E. Landers. The alchemist picked up a book that someone in the caravan had brought. Leafing through the pages, he found a story about Narcissus. The alchemist knew the legend of Narcissus, a youth who knelt daily beside a lake to contemplate his own beauty. He was so fascinated by himself that one morning he fell into the lake and drowned. At the spot where he fell, a flower was born, which was called the Narcissus. But this was not how the author of the book ended the story. He said that when Narcissus died, the goddesses of the forest appeared and found the lake, which had been fresh water, transformed into a lake of salty tears. "Why do you weep?" the goddesses asked. "I weep for Narcissus," the lake replied. "Ah, it is no surprise that you weep for Narcissus," they said, "for though we always pursued him in the forest, you alone could contemplate this beauty close at hand." "But was Narcissus beautiful?" the lake asked. "Who better than you to know that?" the goddesses said in wonder. "After all, it was by your banks that he knelt each day to contemplate himself." The lake was silent for some time. Finally, it said, "I weep for Narcissus, but I never noticed that Narcissus was beautiful. I weep because each time he knelt beside my banks, I could see in the depths of his eyes my own beauty reflected." What a lovely story, the alchemist thought. Part 1. The boy's name was Santiago. Dusk was falling as the boy arrived with his herd at an abandoned church. The roof had fallen in long ago, and an enormous sycamore had grown on the spot where the sacristy had once stood. He decided to spend the night there. He saw to it that all the sheep entered through the ruined gate, and then laid some planks across it to prevent the flock from wandering away during the night. There were no wolves in the region, but once an animal had strayed during the night, and the boy had had to spend the entire next day searching for it. He swept the floor with his jacket and lay down using the book he had just finished reading as a pillow. He told himself that he would have to start reading thicker books, that they lasted longer and made more comfortable pillows. It was still dark when he awoke, and looking up, he could see the stars through the half-destroyed roof. I wanted to sleep a little longer, he thought. He had the same dream that night as a week ago, and once again he had awakened before it ended. He arose and, taking up his crook, began to awaken the sheep that still slept. He had noticed that as soon as he awoke, most of his animals also began to stir. It was as if some mysterious energy bound his life to that of the sheep, with whom he had spent the past 2 years leading them through the countryside in search of food and water. "They're so used to me that they know my schedule," he muttered. I think about that for a moment. He realized that it could be the other way around, that it was he who had become accustomed to their schedule. But there were certain of them who took a bit longer to awaken. The boy prodded them, one by one, with his crook, calling each by name. He had always believed that the sheep were able to understand what he said. So these were times when he read them parts of his books that had made an impression on him. And when he would tell them of the loneliness or the happiness of a shepherd in the fields, sometimes he would comment to them on the things he had seen in the villages they passed. But for the past few days, he had spoken to them about only one thing: the girl, the daughter of a merchant who lived in the village they would reach in about 4 days. He had been to the village only once the year before. The merchant was the proprietor of a dry goods shop, and he always demanded that the sheep be sheared in his presence so that he would not be cheated. A friend had told the boy about the shop, and he had taken his sheep there. I need to sell some wool, the boy told the merchant. The shop was busy, and the man asked the shepherd to wait until the afternoon. So the boy sat on the steps of the shop and took a book from his bag. I didn't know shepherds knew how to read, said a girl's voice behind him. The girl was typical of the region of Andalusia, with flowing black hair and eyes that vaguely recalled the Moorish conquerors. Well, usually I learn more from my sheep than from books, he answered. During the 2 hours that they I only have one hand. Sorry, folks. During the 2 hours that they talked, she told him she was the merchant's daughter and spoke of life in the village where each day was like all the others. The shepherd told her of the Andalusian countryside and related the news from the other towns where he had stopped. It was a pleasant change from talking to his sheep. How did you learn to read? The girl asked at one point. Like everybody learns, he said, in school. Well, if you know how to read, why are you just a shepherd? The boy mumbled an answer that allowed him to avoid responding to her question. He was sure the girl would never understand. He went on telling stories about his travels, and her bright Moorish eyes went wide with fear and surprise. As the time passed, the boy found himself wishing that the day would never end, that her father would stay busy and keep him waiting for 3 days. He recognized that he was feeling something he had never experienced before, the desire to live in one place forever. With the girl with the raven hair, his days would never be the same again. But finally, the merchant appeared and asked the boy to shear 4 sheep. He paid for the wool and asked the shepherd to come back the following year. And now it was only 4 days before he would be back in that same village. He was excited and at the same time uneasy. Maybe the girl had already forgotten him. Lots of shepherds pass through selling their wood. It doesn't matter, he said to his sheep. I know other girls in other places. But in his heart, he knew it did matter. And he knew that shepherds, like seamen and like traveling salesmen, always found a town where there was someone who could make them forget the joy of carefree wandering. The day was dawning, and the shepherd urged his sheep in the direction of the sun. They never have to make any decisions, he thought. Maybe that's why they always stay close to me. The only thing that concerned the sheep were food and water. As long as the boy knew how to find the best pastures in Andalusia, they would be his friends. Yes, their days were all the same, with the seemingly endless hours between sunrise and dusk, and they had never read a book in their young lives. It didn't understand when the boy told them about the sights of the cities. They were content with just food and water. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. They were content with just food and water, and in exchange they generously gave of their wool, their company, and once in a while their meat. If I became a monster today and decided to kill them one by one, they would become aware only after most of the flock had been slaughtered, thought the boy. They trust me, and they've forgotten how to rely on their own instincts because I lead them to nourishment. The boy was surprised at his thoughts. Maybe the church with the sycamore growing from within had been haunted. It had caused him to have the same dream for a second time, and it was causing him to feel anger toward his faithful companions. He drank a bit from the wine that remained from his dinner of the night before, and he gathered his jacket closer to his body. He knew that a few hours from now, with the sun at its zenith, the heat would be so great that he would not be able to lead his flock across the fields. It was the time of day when all of Spain slept during the summer. The heat lasted until nightfall, and all that time he had to carry his jacket. But when he thought to complain about the burden of its weight, he remembered that because he had the jacket, he had withstood the cold of the dawn. We have to be prepared for change, he thought, and he was grateful for the jacket's weight and warmth. The jacket had a purpose, and so did the boy. His purpose in life was to travel, and after 2 years of walking the Andalusian terrain, he knew all the cities of the region. He was planning on this visit to explain to the girl how it was that a simple shepherd knew how to read, that he had attended a seminary until he was 16. His parents had wanted him to become a priest, and thereby a source of pride for a simple farm family. They worked hard just to have food and water like the sheep. He had studied Latin, Spanish, and theology, but ever since he had been a child, he had wanted to know the world. And this was much more important to him than knowing God and learning about man's sins. One afternoon, on a visit to his family, he had summoned up the courage to tell his father that he didn't want to become a priest, that he wanted to travel. People from all over the world have paused through this village, son, said his father. They come in search of new things, but when they leave, they are basically the same people they were when they arrived. They climb the mountain to see the castle, and they wind up thinking that the past was better than what we have now. They have blonde hair or dark skin, but basically they're the same as the people who live right here. But I'd like to see the castles in the towns where they live, the boy explained. Those people, when they see our land, say that they would like to live here forever, his father continued. Well, I'd like to see their land and see how they live, said his son. The people who come here have a lot of money to spend and they can afford to travel, his father said. Amongst us, the only ones who travel are the shepherds. Well, then, I'll be a shepherd. His father said no more. The next day, he gave his son a pouch that held 3 ancient Spanish gold coins. I found these one day in the fields. I wanted them to be a part of your inheritance, but use them to buy your flock. Take to the fields, and someday you'll learn that our countryside is the best, and our women are the most beautiful. And he gave the boy his blessing. The boy could see in his father's gaze a desire to be able himself to travel the world, a desire that was still alive despite his father's having had to bury it over dozens of years under the burden of struggling for water to drink, food to eat, and the same place to sleep every night of his life. I'm going to stop there. That's a wonderful opening to the book, and this chapter is a little long, and my hand is starting to ache. It's funny because I don't believe in coincidences. I did not know that I would be picking up The Alchemist today to read, to share. But it makes sense because Santiago has been whispering in my ear. Sorry for the movement, everyone. Santiago has been whispering in my ear, pick me up, pick me up. Let's go on a journey. Let's travel. What made me go pick up The Alchemist and get up to record my show today was that I was thinking about purpose. And when I said the word purpose, I wanted to, how could I continue to walk in my purpose and stand in my purpose and create something when I can't write? when I can't pick up a pen, um, when I can't write as freely and as quickly as I like to write. I like to open up my journals. I like to plan my day. Um, and I know that I can record notes on my phone, but I decided I didn't want to do that because it was energy that I didn't want to. I didn't want to exhaust. I didn't want to exhaust myself today. And so when I thought of the word purpose, I thought of The Alchemist. And so I just want to go back to this one section when he was talking about carrying the weight of his jacket. And he said, "We have to be prepared for change," he thought. And he was grateful for the jacket's weight and warmth. The jacket had a purpose, and so did the boy. I love that line. I thought that that was a really beautiful line to sort of meditate on today. Um, that we have to be ready for change, right? I love the metaphor of him carrying this jacket. Why does he need this jacket on the journey? There are going to be nights that it's cold. He needs to keep warm. It's part of safety and protection, right? And comforts. But it's also, he felt like a weight, like he wanted to be stripped of these things, when he's doing a lot of walking, so he's doing a lot of sweating. So part of him is feeling like, how does this connect to my purpose? What are some of the things that we are carrying that are not part of our purpose? What are we holding on to? What are we lugging? What are we carrying? I love to use the example of how I used to carry all of these tote bags filled with journals and books and manuscripts and every single project I was working on. I would carry all of these things and my shoulders were starting to hurt. I mean, I was literally carrying 3 tote bags every day because I wanted to keep everything near me because my intention was that, I wanted to always be ready to write, to work. And most days I never got to it. I was unrealistic in my, walking towards my purpose and standing in my purpose. Now I'm traveling with less. Now I'm traveling only with the things that I need. Now I'm planning my day accordingly. I know what I'm capable of. I know what I can physically do and achieve in a day. And if I think that I'm going to read 3 books and write 2 essays and write 4 chapters of my novel, I'm setting myself up. I'm setting myself up. Today, the most that I can give myself is reading some beautiful text in one of my favorite books and meditating on Paulo Coelho's story and see what it conjures up for me in terms of my purpose and my legend and my dreams. Because I know that once my hand is ready to go, once I have my strength back in my wrist and I can move it and I can pick up my pen, I'm going to be unstoppable. But I am being called. I am being called to reflect right now, to rest, to prepare, and to be like Santiago. I'm getting ready to travel. I'm getting ready to take a journey, an incredible journey this year. 2018, for me, is about creating the most beautiful work I've ever created. And so, with that, when you can't write, create anyway, yo. Find something beautiful to fill yourself with, to feed yourself with, to nourish yourself with. And with that, let's meditate. Get comfortable. Let's take some deep breaths. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Keep breathing. What is that thing that's weighing you down, that you're holding on to, that you're carrying? Day in and day out, that thing that you feel like you just can't shake. What is it? Name it. Now I want you to see it burning up in flames. You've taken it, you've written it on a piece of paper, you're sitting in a bonfire, you're sitting by a bonfire by yourself on a beach. You're sitting on a piece of wood, this block of wood, and you're just sitting there and you're just thinking about all the things that you have allowed to keep you paralyzed, to keep you stuck, to keep you from moving. That thing that's weighing you down is someone in your life, people in your life, old narratives and things that you say about yourself. You've written all of these things down on a sheet of paper and you are looking at those words and you're saying, I release, I let go of, I release, I let go of, I release, I let go of. And you're going to take this paper and you're going to throw it into the fire and you're going to watch it. And as you see the change of the fire going from like oranges to yellows to reds, and you're smelling the ember, you're smelling the wood, you're smelling the release of it all, and you're taking that breath in, what are you calling forth into your body as you breathe in oxygen and you're taking all of that in? What are you taking in? Because now you've let go of things. What are you taking in? As you begin your journey, what is it that you know you need to connect to? Is it strength? Is it faith? Is it an opportunity? Is it believing in yourself? Is it confidence? Is it talent? Is it a class? After you've named it, what can you do to have it? Okay, you've named it. What could you do to walk in it? Take that step, yo. And you're ready? Come out of meditation. I have a love-hate with myself. It has taken me a long time to believe in myself. I think that's the one of all of the things that I listed, believing in myself, believing and knowing that I have been chosen. Like when I sit down to create sometimes and I'm writing in my journal and my pen is moving, sometimes I write some things that surprise me and alarm me that I know were direct messages from God. And that is incredible. Believing in myself has been the greatest challenge because so many people in my life I have felt didn't believe in me. There's nothing worse than that. Right? There's nothing worse than feeling like the people you love the most don't believe in you, yo. And so the truth is that it's not their job to give us our confidence. And so we've got to muster the strength to find it for ourselves. And I know that for me, every day as I rise to create and honor my craft, I'm believing in myself more and more. And my confidence level is rising. And that feels amazing. And I want that for you. So do the work. Start letting go of shit that don't serve you. I know I am. All right, my loves, I'm wishing you a beautiful, beautiful evening with all of those you love. I hope you have an amazing dinner. I hope you create something incredible. Go and get The Alchemist because we're going to read it together while I'm sitting in bed. That's just what I'm going to do. So yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.